Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn how to create a RESTful web service by using Spring Boot. For that we need to create the Spring Boot application. So I am going to create the Spring Boot application by using Spring Tool Suite. I will click on the file and then click on the new Spring Starter project. Here I have to give the name of the project. As you can see, I have given the name of the project as the RESTful web service example. And here you have to select the other configuration for the Spring Boot application as we have seen in the last video. So I will click on the next. To create the RESTful web service, I will need here Spring Web dependencies. So I will search for the web and select the Spring Web. If you want other dependency, you can search here and add it into our project. I will click on the next and then click on the finish. You can see here project is getting imported in the project explorer. Now let's click on the application. Here you can see the project structure. In the pom.xml you can see the dependency which we had selected, like Spring Boot Starter Web. It is available here and it will download all the required dependencies in our project, so we don't need to add manually. Start with the RESTful web service. To create the RESTful web service, first we will need the resource. We are going to create the RESTful web service which will fetch the employee data and which will accept the HTTP GET request. For that we will need to create the resource representation class. So I will go to src main java and right click on the folder and click on the new class. The name of the class I will give it like employee, which will represent the employee object. Click on the finish. In this employee class we will write the variable which we want in the object, like I want employee ID, employee name and the employee last name. So we need to declare the variables and we need to create the getters and setter method. So let's create it. Private integer emp id, then private string emp name, then private string. Create it as a designation, or we can create the last name. Any field we can create. In this variable we need to create the getters and setters method. Instead of writing it manually, we will create it by using the Eclipse shortcuts. Right click and then click on the sources, generate getters and setters. Here you have to select the fields. I will click on the select all, then click on the generate. You can see that you have got the all the getters and setters method. Right click, then sources, generate constructor using field, select all, generate. You can see I have got parameterized constructor. To handle the request from the HTTP server or from the browser, we need to create the controller. So I will go to the src main java and click on the new. I will create the new class. Here I will give a name as a employee controller. Click on the finish. So whenever the client will send the HTTP GET request, the request will be handled by the controller. To mention that this request will be handled by this controller, we will need to write the one annotation, that is the @REST controller. In the previous Spring framework we were using the controller annotation, and for that we need to write the request mapping also, the response body. So in this REST controller, many annotations are combined into one, @controller and @response body. So we don't need to write the response body manually in the controller. Okay. To handle the GET request, we need to write one method and which will be annotated by using the GET mapping method. So let's write one method, public, which will return the employee object, and get employee. Return new employee. Here we will give the hard coded values, employee ID as 1, employee name as Roshni and last name as Jaiswal. Okay, so whenever we will hit the request for the get employee, means for that we need to write the mapping. For that we need to write the annotation, that is get mapping, and here we need to write the path. I will write here employee. So this is what you have created, the RESTful web service, which will return the employee object or the employee JSON object on the request. So let's run this project. Right click on the project, click on the run as, then click on the Spring Boot app. Allow access. The project is started on the 8080 port. So I will open the browser and hit localhost :88. So server is started. The request is mapped /employee URI. So I will write here /. So you can see that here we have got the JSON data which we have created. So here you have learned how to create the RESTful web service by using the Spring Boot application. In the next video we will learn other HTTP requests and how to handle it. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, subscribe and share.